This week has been incredibly chaotic with the release of Forspoken and the Dead Space remake. I reviewed both those games, and once I was completed trying to finish those massive projects, I wanted to play something chill. I wanted to relax a bit. And then I remembered we're finally getting the re-release of GoldenEye 007, the Nintendo 64 classic that very much created my love of first-person shooters. I grew up so utterly obsessed with these games, I used to play them literally every single day for years with my friends, doing split-screen co-op, beating the missions in the hardest difficulties. I used to even look at this stupid old strategy guide with these hand-drawn maps and just sort of fantasize about being James Bond. Well, the problem is that this re-release kind of sucks. It's actually kind of baffling, but it feels like the people that worked on these ports didn't really care about the project. But let's talk about that. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. So starting things off, we have an article over here on Kotaku that says, GoldenEye 007 is finally on Nintendo Switch and the Xbox, but it needs some work. Now, just scrolling down a bit, the biggest issue is that these feel like very raw dumps of the original Nintendo 64 ROM just slapped onto a console, which is strange because it's stuck at 30 frames a second. There's a lot of weird pop-in issues and texture blurring. A lot of people are straight up saying that this looks somehow very blurry and low resolution on both the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox version. Now, the weirdest part about this is that people seem to be trying to compile and figure out how exactly this even happened. People are saying, okay, so there's texture warping, there's modulation, deformation, frame rate drops. This is something I witnessed a lot of, which is that not when you're blowing stuff up or shattering glass or even killing 80 dudes at once with a rocket launcher, the frame rate seems to drop when you're just running around. But the bigger problem at play is that the Xbox version and the Nintendo Switch version play incredibly different. And I'll be honest, I don't know why they decided to make different control styles and different features for the two consoles. Now, when you're playing this on Xbox, I decided to speedrun through the first 7 levels because I have them so perfectly memorized. And while running around, something about these games looks clean from a retro perspective. If you're playing this on Xbox, it does have widescreen support. It's technically running at 4K, 30 frames a second, but that really low frame rate seems very bizarre. Not only is this an ancient game, it should be running at 120 frames a second bare minimum, but when you're playing it, a lot of stuff looks different. There will be objects in the foreground or objects in the background that just don't quite look right. Or if you're looking down your scope randomly, a dude will somehow look even more blocky. It's just so weird. It feels like they tried to make the most simplified upscaling of the original code. Now, for some reason, the developers are actually blaming the game. They're just saying, hey, this is technically what GoldenEye 007 is supposed to look like. If you don't like the game itself, that's you hating GoldenEye. It's not our fault. I guess it's that people expected at least a modicum of a decent visual upgrade, especially because we can't forget that this project actually exists. So I'm going to show you something. Wow, look, here is a glorious actual remaster of freaking GoldenEye. It looks great, right? You can see the new textures, the new assets, the fact that people die in better animations to the original versions. It's the same game, definitely, bit by bit, pixel for pixel. It's just remade with better assets. This is an actual project that existed. This is a real game that was finished and completed and for some reason never got released. This is something that you can find online. I'm not allowed to show you where, but it's funny that this exists, and instead we got such a lazy port that barely even runs its ancient assets at 30 frames a second. But here's the other weirdness of it. If you're playing this on Xbox, it plays like a modern game control-wise. The left stick is for looking around, the right stick controls your aiming, the left stick controls your feet. Pulling the triggers is pretty simplistic. Pulling the right trigger shoots your guns, very obvious. Left trigger is how you actually do the tactical aiming. It's very, very, very modernized, right? Well, if you play this on the Nintendo Switch, people are saying it is straight up unplayable. And after having tested it myself, it definitely feels weird. So on Nintendo Switch, it's still 30 frames a second. It runs about 20 frames a second for the majority of the game, but additionally, it's now stuck at 6:9, the classic resolution of old school TVs. The aspect ratio just looks funky. And while you're playing it, now the left stick does everything. It's how you run around. If you want to look up and down, you have to hold the shoulder button. And then shooting is the left trigger. Playing this with a normal controller or even a pro controller feels terrible. All that this stick does, the right stick, is how you strafe. The game plays absolutely atrociously. Now, I know that some people are saying, oh, well, it was made for a Nintendo 64 controller. Porting it to modern is going to feel funky. No excuses. They could have done this better, and they did do it better on the Xbox. Why didn't they modernize the controls somewhat when it comes to Nintendo Switch? But here's the other weird stuff. On the Xbox, you get widescreen visuals, you get upscaling, you get better aiming and stuff, but there's no online multiplayer. There's no servers, there's no lobbies, there's no ability at all to play GoldenEye with buddies online if you're playing this on Game Pass. Instead, you have to play it split screen only. If somebody comes to your house, you can play it, and that's it. Whereas with the Nintendo Switch, you are able to use the built-in Nintendo Switch online service co-op. Basically, you make a lobby, you invite your friends one by one, and once they're in there, you can play a match. Now, the problem is that, obviously, Nintendo Switch servers, their internet is not very good. This is all based on a peer-to-peer network, so it's everybody connecting to each other through Nintendo headquarters. And at times, when me and my YouTuber buddies, this is Modern Vintage Gamer and Spawnwave, we're all trying to play a match here, when everybody has very, very good internet, you're hardwired directly into your Switch. If you have the Ethernet dongle, it runs smooth enough. I mean, it's still very weird controls. You'll notice that a lot of my buddies are straight up running into walls or just shooting the freaking floor because the aiming is just so sporadic. But if anybody lags at all, it lags the entire server. It's so annoying when you're trying to get a kill, when you're chasing somebody down, when you're just trying to score a very basic bit of functionality and the game is running at a snail's pace. I had 5 matches I did, 3 with perfect internet with people that actually pay for gigabit fiber like I do, and 2 where I played with random fans and stuff, and it got so incredibly laggy. I wish we had dedicated servers. I wish we had actual infrastructure. I wish we had to play these games that was befitting of the quality of GoldenEye. I mean, this is lazy. Undeniably, this is lazy. I'm not saying that to insult people. I'm saying that clearly whoever at the top greenlit this project did not expect anybody to actually play it. These are ports that are basically just showing, hey, we're able to legally release these games. It's not about quality. It's not about polish. It's not about care. It is literally the bare freaking minimum. And as a fan of GoldenEye, I am deeply disappointed. I wish this was better. I think it truly should be better. For a freaking Game Pass re-release, for a Nintendo Switch Online experience, this is not worth it. This is a freaking stupid undercut to the quality that we deserve. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. What do you think about the idea of GoldenEye 64 coming back? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And please, if you could, give this video a like and subscribe. But please, keep dreaming. Oh man, thanks to everybody who randomly played some co-op with me for this gameplay, by the way. I played with some subscribers and whipped everybody's ass. I'm ridiculously good at GoldenEye. It's my hidden talent.